Saints fans, we're back for season 2025 for another season of the podcast, another season of Saints footy. Jakey, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling a little bit tired, to be honest. We're in early just to get the show out this week, Labor Day, which is exciting, but it's come around pretty quick to think that round one is Sunday. Opening round is finished, which is really exciting. Great round of football.
I know you have your feelings or concerns about opening round.
I do, but we can talk about that a little later. But yeah, very excited. I don't know if I'm optimistic about Sunday, but I'm feeling something.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just because football's back and I'm just the optimist.
No, there's just a general excitement in the air, I guess, for Saints footy to come back. But I know what you mean. I'm going to the game, so I'm like, I don't know. It feels like one of those seasons where anything could happen. Like 2023 going in, I remember there was just this big unknown about what the club was going to do, and then we ended up making finals. Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen this year. Obviously, if you read the media, it's not looking good for us. There's a lot of negative predictions, bottom four predictions. We didn't play well in a practice game, so apparently, we're the worst team ever now. But
didn't Giants look pretty bad against Carlton a week ago? And they looked pretty good yesterday.
Exactly.
So
I mean, just to get straight into it, I'll just say straight off the bat, I'm not reading anything into these practice games. When we beat Carlton in the first match sim, I thought, okay, there's some very positive signs. Obviously, Boxshall's just come onto the scene. He looks awesome.
Yeah.
But then when we lost to Port, I mean, really, if you look at that game, after quarter time, it was 3 points the difference. We had one terrible quarter. Obviously, the brand didn't look good all day. I understand that. But I didn't think that was a major cause for concern. Like you said, the Giants had a shocking practice match, and then yesterday they've come out and beat Collingwood by 50 points.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Are you reading a lot into it?
No, like after the Port game, I did get a few DMs and people panicking and kind of saying, well, this is going to be the year, Jakey. And I'm like, I probably would have jumped the gun a couple of years back, but we're a young side. I know Kane Collins has made a big deal about that, which is really funny. But a little bit more perspective. Let's just wait until round one. I don't want to pass any judgment until I actually see the real stuff, because it's funny when you win a pracky game. Nah, it's just a pracky game.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. But when you lose a pracky game, it's very much, you're going to finish bottom two. Yeah. So either result, like if we had have pantsed Port, the whole thing would have been about Port and Ken Hinkley and how it was a pracky game and maybe they're just taking it easy, and then we get pumped and it's very much St Kilda look awful and Port look like a top four team that's not going to win a final again.
Exactly. Like you said, if we performed like that in round one, then
you worry. Well, then
the fans can go nuts and say what they want, but it's not round one. And Port said, I think Ken Hinkley or Connor Rosie, someone said after that game, they were treating that game like a round zero. They were really amped up to play and win that game. And whether this is a concern for people or not, I just think we didn't have that approach. Whether that you think that's a good thing or not, everyone can see that was not our approach. I don't know what we were doing. It definitely looked bad, but again, it's a practice match. It's just too hard to tell. Let's save that criticism for post round one, I think.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the preview a little bit later, but the general off season, aside from the pracky games, I feel like has been fairly positive outside of the injuries. Like training wise, the boys have looked pretty. I've been to a few sessions. We've put it up on the channel. Thanks to Stu for doing that. And generally the standard's been pretty good. Like the intensity is good. The boys look switched on.
Yeah.
And injury-wise, this might be controversial, but I feel like the injuries have been a little bit exaggerated. I don't think they're as bad as what people think. Yeah. Like, in terms of the amount of players we're missing. We're going to get Rowan Sinks. They'll play on the weekend, which we'll talk about your round one team.
Yeah.
Really, then we're missing, King, Dukes, and Henry and Filippo.
King and Owens are touch and go for round one.
King and Owens. I don't think King will play, but I think Owens might be a chance.
Either way, we're looking like an early season return for those two.
Yeah.
The other players, like in our best 22, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's just Howard, Philippou, obviously, and Henry.
Yeah, so three.
So three players. And Philippou and Henry are crucial, and Howard, obviously, is playing a position that we don't have much depth in at the moment in the back line.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's far from ideal to have those three out. But I do agree. It feels like an exaggeration. I think because of the caliber of player, when King goes down, it's the only talking point about the club becomes, oh, Max King's injured again. So
and we're playing Adelaide, so
yeah.
And I think everyone goes back to last year and their forward line and how the big boys just kind of took hold of us in that last quarter, like Riley Thilthorpe in particular. So yeah, there's a bit of PTSD when it comes to losing a defender. Obviously, Battle as well on top compounds that, losing him to Hawthorn, and then playing a massive forward line in Adelaide. But I don't know. If they don't mark it and it comes to ground, that's when we can get them and go the other way pretty fast. Yeah. You know?
And, you know, I would reference 2023 again. Round 1, we played Freo. I can't remember the odds for that game, but I can tell you they would not have been in favour for us. We had a ridiculous amount of injuries, a new coach, the list rebuild just seemed to have just begun, and we came out and won that game. And then I think we won 5 out of our first 6 or something. So
yeah, we were top after round 5.
You know, everyone has their own opinion about this, but my opinion is that Ross Lyon is a great coach. And obviously you want to have your best players on the park, but he's the sort of coach with that next man up mentality where, okay, Max King goes down, you know, Anthony Caminiti, Isaac Keeler come in and take that spot.
Well, that's the thing. This is maybe a good segue into the round 1 team, but full forward, if Max King doesn't play, everyone's like, throw Keeler in there, because he had a little cameo against Port pretty late in the game, looked pretty good, kicked a goal, took a few good marks. Caminiti has struggled a tiny bit, although some people think it's just the position he's playing. He's being thrown around a little bit, forward and back, sometimes in the ruck. Who's full forward if King doesn't play?
I mean, and obviously, we've got to mention Cooper Sharman.
And he's down with his hand, obviously,
again, so our forward and backline depth is being seriously tested right now.
Yeah.
It's a good question, and I don't really know the answer. Caminiti looked suspect in the practice games, I think, to say the least, potentially. And Keeler, I don't know, he didn't impress in a grand way. I thought he did some really nice things. I can see him debuting at some point this year. Whether that's, you know, early in the season, I'm not sure. I think if Max King doesn't play and Mitch Owens doesn't play, we're probably going to see Harry Boyd debut and Roel Marshall will play forward, I would think. But, you know, it is hard to tell who Ross's favourites are at this point in the season. I mean, Travaglia only has played like a quarter in the first match sim and then a quarter in the next pracky. We don't know what's going on with him. Is he injured? Is that load management? Is he just not in the best 22 right now? We don't know. So, yeah, it's hard. What do you think of the forward line, though?
Let's go with... I've got a screenshot, actually, here of your forward line. So let's have a look at exactly...
I've been hard at work on this round 1 team.
So your forward line, as of the other day, was Owens, injury cloud, Caminiti, centre-half forward, Wilson, Butler, King, Higgins. Yeah. That was your forward line.
Is there anyone on the bench that can rotate?
Emergencies was Boyd, Hall, O'Connell. Next up, Clark, Keeler, Seanmaker.
Yeah.
And on the bench, we had Windy, Boxall, Travalia, Hasty. And a lot of people do think Travalia is not going to play just because of the minutes. And, I mean, you're probably safer with the Clark or someone like that.
Well, see, there's just a lot of things we don't know about. Like, Clark played VFL, but then they've said that was a return from injury. But then he just re-signed with the club, so you'd assume he's probably in favour. Yeah. Travaglia, after the first match sim, we were at that game, and all the boys that played a limited minutes in that game went and played in the next game. Travaglia did some sort of medical test and then didn't play. So that's why I'm just going to go under the assumption, for now, I definitely could be wrong, that it's some sort of load management for him and that he will play round 1. Yeah. I could be wrong because I'm kind of taking a punt on that one. But yeah, I think the simple move is King doesn't play, you put Marshall forward and Harry Boyd into the ruck.
Yeah, I think that's a fair play. And that's more physical as well. Yeah. 2 big boys against a very...
Yeah. And I also think Boxall will rotate with the forwards as well and almost play potentially like a Mitch Owens.
That's not a bad call. He's got the size and he seems to have that aggression around the ball as well.
Yeah.
The back line, not many people liked it, but I think it's less about your selections and more about just the lack of depth in that area. Like Stocker, Cordy, Webster as the back threes, not looking great on paper.
Honestly, like people are hating on that, and I understand. Like again, I'm not saying that's the best we can do, but honestly, I do think Stocker and Webster probably are in our best 22 anyway. I know Cordy, some people are not a fan of his. But I think he gets in there and he does his job, Like, yes, he's not, an all-Australian defender, but I just think he's a serviceable defender. He'll get in there and do his job when we need him to, when a Dougal Howard, when a Callum Wilkie's out. So, I'm not that mad about that, to be honest.
Yeah, and then there's the high half-back line, Wangan Malira, goes without saying, Cal Wilkie and Jack Sinclair.
That's an All-Australian half-back line. That's an All-Australian
half-back line, yeah. And then centre line, Wood on one wing, Garcia in the guts, which is going to be very, very exciting to watch. And Brad Hill on the other wing. I think that line's really well
covered. I'm so excited about Garcia this season.
Yeah, I'm very bullish about him. And the followers, Marshall, Steele, McRae.
Again, yeah.
He's been flawless in the Pracky games.
Him and Boxall have probably been the two highlights of the preseason.
Hasty as well.
Hasty's been really good too. But I mean, McRae is just that player where I think there's been some narrative about him that he just gets a lot of possessions, but they're not effective.
Yeah.
And I completely disagree with that, because his possessions go unnoticed because they're in and under. When we get the ball out and Steele all of a sudden has the ball on the outside, or Brad Hill or Mason Wood, it's because McRae has gone into the contest, won the ball and dished it out.
And I think, I don't know if it's maybe unfair on him in his career, but even when he was at the Dogs, I never saw him as that inside grunt type player, because I guess they had Liberatore, they had Treloar probably going through there a little bit. They didn't really need him to do the nitty gritty work.
Yeah.
But he's got that in spades in his game. I guess he needs to do it a little bit more at the Saints.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I think he's a very good pickup. There's a lot of talk in the media. I haven't heard as much among Saints fans about, he's sort of just on the back end of his career, sort of making up the numbers. Nah. Like, I completely disagree with that. And obviously Seb Ross was really serviceable for the club, played well for us, in a not so good era. I think this is a huge Seb Ross upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad thinking that when we lost Seb and were linked to McRae, I kind of thought, it's a like for like, but it's not a like for like. Like, he's an All-Australian.
This is an All-Australian, yeah.
He is to me, he could still or should have stayed at the Dogs and started in their midfield. Luckily for us, Bevo's a little crazy and doesn't want him, so we picked him up. But he would start in the midfield, I think, for a lot of teams. I think so. Like, I don't think we're picking up someone that's past his best. I think he's absolutely still in that zone where he could probably make All-Australian this year. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
He could do it again.
Mate, he could win the club's best and fairest. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying he will, but he'll be in the top 5.
And if Steele does, or Steele makes All-Australian, I did it in my 5 things we learned a few weeks back. I said it would be because of what McRae does.
Exactly.
What he allows Steele to do. Because even Steele looked his old 2020, 21 self in those Pracky games.
Imagine the weight being lifted off our skipper's shoulders,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been carrying that midfield for, the better part of 5 years. This is probably the best midfielder he's had to go alongside with him in that time. The outside, we had like Dan Hanbury, who played 6 games for the club.
Yeah.
Exaggerating,
I don't think Steele ever played with Stoof, did he? Did he?
Once, maybe in the early days of his Saints career. And anyway, you're exactly right. It'll be just fantastic for Steele. And when we eventually get him back, when Philippou starts to roll through that midfield, I think it's going to be really exciting. But in saying that, Garcia in there now, I think is also exciting. Yeah.
Boxall will go through there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to like, but also so much to be worried about at the same time.
What are you worried about?
I'm just worried about patience. People giving these young kids enough time to grow together, because it feels like we've been through that cycle many times in the last 10 years. So how do we know this one is the one that's finally going to pay off, whereas maybe 5-6 years ago, I remember looking back on highlights of 2014, 15, 16, 17, and you're like, geez, some of these young kids, I remember saying we're going to be, Jack Newnes, no offense, he's played his 200 games, he's been to a couple of clubs, he's made a career out of it. But I remember reading up on old comments of, geez, Jack Newnes, he could be that next thing. And obviously that didn't happen. Jack Billings didn't happen. Paddy McCartan didn't happen. Luke Dunstan at times looked like a very good midfielder. Didn't happen. So how do we know? How can we trust the club enough that this is going to be the time?
I think that's fair. What I would say is we've got Ross Lyon now. Back then, who did we have? We had Scott Waters, Richo,
Ratton,
and Ratton. I think Ratton was serviceable.
Ratton was the best of those.
And played a really good role for some of the players who were still on the list, and sort of nurtured them through those COVID years and everything like that. But Richo and Scott Waters they're not coaching anymore. They're unproven coaches. Richo's obviously has a role with Melbourne, but it's not in the coach's box as far as I'm concerned. So
he went somewhere, didn't he?
He's at Hawthorn currently. I think that's a part-time thing though. Anyway, I guess my point is Ross Lyon is a proven coach. He's gone to 3 grand finals. I think maybe I'm just have a blind faith here.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for some of these comments to come through. Ari, take your Ross Lyon hat off.
That's
mate.
fine. But I'm a Ross Lyon fan. As soon as we got rid of Brett Ratton, the next day I was thinking, if we get Ross Lyon, I'm going to be so excited. And of course we did, which was great. So I guess that is my only argument back to that. But I do understand. You're right. We were excited about a lot of these players.
Yeah, it feels like
nothing.
There have been these phases before. But what I would say is, off field and I guess the structure and expectation internally has never been higher.
Yeah.
So you can have all the draft picks and all the young kids on the surface, but if the club as an organisation isn't set up properly, you're not going to maximise that talent.
Yeah. I guess I just feel like the club is set up properly.
Yeah,
And something that Lee Montagna said in the Saints TV season preview was, the expectations externally are bottom 4. We're gonna have shit. Yeah, this year, internally it's we are going to win every game.
Yeah,
and that's the expectation, and that's fantastic for these young players. I just think for their development, having a coach like Ross in their early years, Mitch Owens, Marcus Windhagen, Naz, the majority of their career they've been coached by Ross, and I think it shows. Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll talk about the game a little bit later, but before we get into the game, we have got Mosh on board, which is really exciting. So we've got them as a sponsor of the podcast, which is amazing. We've done some good work with them in the past. They were on the podcast the last 2 years, and part of the club organisation as well, getting into the room. So they've been an awesome support. Yep. But we do have some more news this year. We've got a discount code as well. We do.
Yep. Saints TV 50 to get $50 off your first treatment plan. And I mean, if you're having hair regrowth problems, it's the best time to regrow your hair. Get around it with Mosh.
So you can pull it out when you're watching the Saints?
Oh, maybe so. I think me and you maybe don't have those concerns just yet. Yeah. But down the track, we may and will definitely be
I'm sure,
going to Mosh.
For the listeners and viewers, I'm sure you know someone that comes to mind immediately when you're like, get on the Mosh Saints TV discount.
Is someone coming to your mind? Is that...
there's my uncle, to be honest. he had the locks. He had the dreadies, not dreadies, but he had like the mullet, Greek, long hair, and then bang, overnight. I'm like, I look at one photo and there's all the hair, and then the next one is gone. I'm like, is that when you became a Saint, or I don't know?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely maybe a few blokes at footy, maybe one that should get onto the Mosh, I reckon. I won't name and shame, but...
Not yet anyway. Just give it some time and then it'll happen. But we are going to have a segment, Mosh Man of the Match. So obviously there's no game this weekend, but I thought it'd be fun for us to predict who we think.
Yep.
And then next week we can talk about it and see what Sammy reckons.
Yep.
So who do you think is going to be the St Kilda Mosh Man of the Match?
Jack McRae, for sure.
Yeah?
I just think he's been the standout of the season. We've already spoken ad nauseum about him. So him. But I'll add an extra bonus one, which is Garcia.
Okay.
I can see him just having 15 tackles, and I don't care how many touches he has. I'm going to look at the tackle count for him, because I can tell you now, if there was odds on him having 10 plus tackles, it'd be low, because it's highly likely. He's a good user of the ball. More than half his touches in the VFL last year were contested. He's a bull and a great addition to our midfield. Yeah,
love that. I'm going to go left field. I'm going to go for a player that we haven't seen anything of in the preseason, or really on the training track. And I'm going to think that Ron Marshall's going to play full forward and kick 4 goals.
I like that.
I like that. I just don't... I think people are like, oh, he hasn't had much of a preseason, this and that. I just think he's that sort of bloke that it doesn't really matter. He'll just play and he'll just be good.
He's also like 29 years old around.
He's been around, he's physical. If Harry Boyd plays in the ruck and does a good enough job to allow Rowe to play deep forward, I think that could be a match-winning performance from him.
Yeah, definitely. No, I like that one. And
4 goals,
I think, maybe for Sainers that haven't been locked into our preseason, I think we need to talk about the Boxall hype. We've mentioned him already, but why are people so excited about Boxall?
Because he plays like Jack Steele, but when we got him from GWS, it's just, they're twins to me.
Yeah.
He's so physical, but I think what he has that Steele's trying to get into his game a little bit more is he seems to find the goals a lot easier. He's kicked a couple of goals in the pracky. His ball use is getting better because he's getting more confident with the ball in hand. And he breaks tackles. Yeah. Like, who doesn't love a bloke that gets the ball and then pushes Paddy Cripps off in his first competitive game and says, "Nah, mate, I know you're a Brownlow, 2-time Brownlow medalist, but you're not tackling me today." Yeah, that's definitely. And that just makes everyone else around you kind of confident and exciting, want to give the ball to a player like him.
Yeah, and you've been very excited about Hasty as well.
Yeah, I think I genuinely would be upset if he didn't play on the weekend, even as a sub, but I think he deserves a position. His run and carry has been the best out of anyone in the back half. I'd say he's outperformed Naz in that aspect in the pracky games. Yeah. And his ball use, I think, is very good. I think it's underrated almost. Yeah. It just depends if Sinks plays, if Naz plays, is there room for Hasty? But Sinks could well just play in the guts. Yeah. Like, it could be a Steele, McRae, Sinclair extravaganza, and then put Hasty and Naz as halfbacks running.
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what else do we have to cover here?
Well, we've got junk mail, so we've got Saners that have sent that in, so we can get stuck into that.
Are we ready for that?
I'm always ready for junk mail. It's been a while.
Let's get into junk mail.
Let's do it.
Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail. Jake is junk mail.
I'm sure there's going to be some interesting ones, and we'll kick it off with a very interesting one. I kind of wish Sammy was here for this because I know he'd piss himself. This one is from Kendall. Would you rather fight a Machito-sized duck or 100 duck-sized Machitos? I've actually thought about this extensively.
Oh, that's concerning.
I'll start. I would absolutely go for 100 duck-sized Machitos. If it was 1,000, Kendall, I would say the giant duck or the giant Machito is a duck or whatever the hell that is. I would pick that. But 100, I feel like 100 duck-sized Machitos would be easy to take down. And also, who wants to see a giant duck?
I was going to say I would probably go for the giant duck just because I'd be so interested.
Psychologically, I'd be like, it's going to eat me. Like, I'm going to be worried. You know, Machito just like, sorry, mate, but see you later. Like, I feel like
starting junk mail strong.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, let's get into some more serious questions here.
That wasn't serious.
I mean,
that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I don't like this one. This one's from Jono. Do we tank to get good talent or continue to try and buy the big boys?
No.
I don't think you ever... If there's a word... If the tank word is anywhere in the realm of St Kilda, we don't want to do that.
Like we said, the club is... Like, the expectations internally is to win every game, and that's not going to change under Ross Lyon.
Yeah. This one... And I think, like, play the youth, but obviously... Yeah. You want players to earn their spots too. We're not just going to give it away because we do have enough senior players to be competitive.
For sure.
Tawunda says, reckon no one is laughing at our offer to Finn Callahan now.
Yeah. I mean, he played very well yesterday.
Isn't that funny though that St Kilda, this is what I hate about the AFL media.
Yeah.
We make an offer. Supposedly we don't, right? Ross Lyon says he didn't even speak to the guy.
Yeah.
But supposedly, that offer goes through or whatever. People make fun of us, say, look how desperate St Kilda are. And then he plays the game of his life on the weekend and everyone goes, he deserves more. Yeah. He looked like the best midfielder in the comp yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was unreal. And look, people get embarrassed about the club throwing money around, but the fact of the matter is that we have the money and we're looking for...
And he's 21.
Yeah, we're looking for young, talented midfielders, and he's one of them. And yeah, Ross didn't even speak to him, so how serious that offer was, we don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was because he mentioned it himself. But
correct.
We don't know the ins and outs.
It's just funny. It's just funny. One second we're being mocked. The next second it's like 7 million was a bargain.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus. Like,
I mean, we'll see. TDK and LDU haven't re-signed yet.
Yeah, well, they haven't re-signed. And that leads to the next question, which is from Diego. Is there a player we should be saving our coin for in 2 to 3 years rather than now? And if so, who? Harley Reid would be nice.
Harley Reid would be nice.
He's out of contract in a few years.
Potentially Zach Butters is out of contract.
Zach Butters. In 2 years. There has been word that he could be open to a switch back to Victoria.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm very happy for the club to throw a lot of cash LDU's way this off-season.
Yeah. Tawunda, again, back-to-back, is asking, is Round 0 designed to torture Saints fans? Josh Battle and Skunk in new colours the only 2 games to watch.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with Battle. I mean,
he did what
yeah.
a player of Josh Battle's skill needed to do in a game like that. For a team as good as Hawthorn.
To be objective, he played well. He did
solid.
his role.
Him and Barras were solid.
Yeah, he'll be good for them this year. But yeah, definitely a tough pill to swallow watching him run around. And Membry, well, I mean, Collingwood were terrible yesterday, so he didn't get a chance to do a lot. Playing on in the goal square was not pretty to watch, but
the one goal, 8 touches.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, to be honest, I think we just need to stop being so focused on these players. I know it's not a jab at you.
Yeah, it feels
it's a jab at everyone being like, we miss Max King, so we should have kept Membry. It's like, that's not the mindset you have.
Yeah.
Membry we offered him a year and he didn't take it, and Collingwood came around and got him. It's like, we didn't.
Well, I mean, Collingwood offered him more. Like he would.
I think
if we had have offered him the same, he would have stayed here.
Yeah, but I don't think he deserved to. So I think we stuck with our guns and made the right call.
I mean, I can see I love Tim Membry. I think he's was a great player for us, but I can definitely see what the Ross and co were thinking with that one, as frustrating as it may be.
Yeah. This one is from Gus. When will the potty do an exclusive interview with Kane Corns?
I'm gonna leave this to you.
I'll tell you what, Gus. I have been hitting him up through his agent. I'm putting the pressure on him now. Through his agent, Twitter account, personal DMs. I've gone every avenue possible to get the volcano on here, and he has not responded once. But he's happy to tweet about me. He's happily tweeting, referencing me.
He'll talk about you around you.
Other people, but he will not talk to me. Yeah. Love that. So Kane, if you're listening, mate, come on the potty. Let's have a chat.
Love to talk to you, Kane.
What's going to happen? I'm not asking for a boxing match. He'd kill me in that.
He's not a fan of Ollie Gill either.
No, he's not a fan of anything related to St Kilda.
He's not.
We're going to have to win 4 flags in a row for him to say St Kilda's not bad.
It's true.
Another one from Colin. Are you able to get Ross Lyon on the podcast and ask him the tough questions, Jake? Thanks. What would be a tough question to ask Ross?
Do you have faith that the process we're undertaking is going to pay off?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, if you were a journo, what is the toughest question you can ask Ross Lyon? Because, I mean, Ross is he's a pro at this. He knows how to deflect. He knows how to give enough, but not too much. He's probably the best coach to be interviewed because he handles it so
Did you see
well.
in the Pracky, David King interviewed him pre-game, and I heard Kingy talking about it on Fireball, where Ross answered his questions, he took so long with the answers just so Kingy couldn't fit in as many questions.
That's genius. That's what I mean. Ross is even if I had loaded questions, I don't think I'd get the proper answer.
Yeah.
Max says, where do you genuinely think we will finish at the end of the season? I don't know if the media is getting to me, but I'm really starting to think we're a chance for bottom 4, sadly. Max, the media is getting to you.
Yeah, I was going to say. Do you genuinely think we could finish bottom 4 this year?
No.
Yeah. I
think people forget to finish bottom 4, we genuinely need to only win 4 to 5 games.
Yeah.
And we've won more than 10 games 2 years running, or 3 of the last 4 years. It would have to be a significant fall from grace. Our youngsters would have to not improve at all.
Yeah.
Our senior players would have to drop standards significantly. And by what I've seen, I don't see Steele, McRae, Sinclair, Marshall, Wilkie, King. I don't see them dropping off the face of the earth.
No.
I still think in a poor season, it would be similar to last season. I think we'll pinch some games against good teams. Maybe drop a few games we should win and then belt a few teams. And that's not what I'm saying will happen, but that's a poor season to me.
I would say a poor season would be 10 wins.
Yeah, that's what I think. I can't
a few less,
4 or 5.
one less than last year. A good season, I think, is 13, 14 wins.
We play Richmond twice, so to me that's 2 wins there. We play West Coast, that's another win.
Yeah.
We always beat Geelong at least once.
Well,
we play Carlton, and then there's a lot of 50-50s against the Freos, the Gold Coast, the Adelaides.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Port Adelaide. There's a lot of games that we can go into if we play well and win, but obviously flip of the coin, some of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't see us finishing bottom 4. And maybe
Who is your bottom 4?
Oh, I actually do have one. I think it was Richmond, West Coast. Actually, I have this written
North?
down.
Or North?
I think I actually
Get them out?
had North. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Richmond, West Coast, Essendon, and the Bulldogs. And then I had North 14th.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. This one is from Ben. He said, looking at Ari's round 1 team, would you really risk Owens and or King for round 1? Surely better to spare them the travel and give them an extra week to recover against the Cats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm put them in the team assuming they were fit to get up. If they are, if it's a line ball call, yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. With King, I would hope that the club is taking a cautious approach. Owens, again, it really depends what the injury is, if they can play through it. I'm not a doctor or a physio, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would suggest if your shoulder's sore, it's going to be pretty hard to mark the ball, etc.
And just be confident, like we've seen with King and his shoulder. He's not been confident the last few years. We'll go with this one to round it out. I can't even read that name. Was there a particular game? Was there a particular game for you boys that made you Saints fans? Particular game?
Not for me, because I just have been going for the club since I've been going to games since I was a baby. But my earliest memories of games are 2008 prelim against Hawthorn, Robert Harvey's last game.
Memory.
Yeah. 2009 against Geelong at home and away. I remember being.
My earliest memory was the 2009 prelim final against the Bulldogs. 2010 prelim final. 2005.
I mean, I do remember the 2009 prelim as well.
You don't remember the 2005 prelim?
No, definitely not.
2004.
I was 1 year old in 2004.
I was at the 2005 prelim where Schneider went nuts and killed us. But not my earliest, but the one that stands out to me is I remember listening to it on the radio, and it was Nathan Burke's, I think, 300 that was round 18 or 19. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sainers. 2003, it was Heritage round. We had the pinstripes, and we belted Richmond by about 80 points. And it was like, I didn't expect that. But I just remember the Guernsey, the first time I really saw it. I'm like, that is a bloody good-looking Guernsey. Those colours look good. We belted Richmond. And then, that off-season we played in the Wizard Cup, and I decided to get a St Kilda membership right after the Essendon semi-final in the 2004 Wizard Cup. So we'd just won to go into the granny.
Yeah, right.
Not that I was you're not a glory hunter if you're jumping on a bandwagon of a pre-season competition, right? No. But I was like, nah, I'm going to call up tomorrow and get a membership.
Wait, that wasn't the year that Lenny and Grant Thomas were... Was that year where they held up the... that
one. We beat Geelong in
right.
the granny at...
Oh, that's elite.
Telstra Dome it would have been. And that's when I became a Saints fan. But before that, we all know the story, so I won't go into that too much.
Yeah, beautiful.
But that's junk mail for the first time in 2025. I'm very excited to see where junk mail goes as the season progresses. How dark or happy it will get. You never know.
Oh, you really don't. I'd say, who have we got these first few? Round 1 to 3, Adelaide, Geelong, Richmond. I don't see
2-1, baby. Let's go. 3-0 would be nice.
That would be very nice. I think we got to pinch one of these first two.
Well, I want to beat one of Adelaide and Geelong. Like you got to.
Yeah.
Because like you said, then you got Richmond, so you want to bank on that. But then after that, you've got Port and the Giants, both in Adelaide.
It's tough.
And then it's like Fremantle, Bulldogs, Carlton, Gold Coast. It's then a run of games where it's genuine 50-50s.
Yeah. I think our softest moment in the fixture is sort of like in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
But start and end, it's looking pretty tough. But, that's what we want. Like at the end of last season, we played Geelong and
Sydney,
Carlton, Sydney, top 8 sides. And, against some of them we did really well. So let's see how we go this year. I think people forget how strongly we finished last year. I know in the past we finished years strong, and then the next year we haven't turned up. But, again, it's hard to tell if that we're going to build on that, or if that was just winning meaningless games at the end of the year. I don't know, but I just, maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I just can't see this year going the way everyone thinks it's going to for us. Like, if I was to say a ladder range, I think that was one of the questions. I would say, like, honestly, 6th to 13th. I know that's like a very open range, but I can't see us being above or below that. Like, I could
16,
genuinely
18.
see us making finals. I know people probably think that's the wildest prediction right now because everyone thinks we're going to be bottom 4. I can genuinely see us making finals, but I can also just see us, we don't want to be there, but being stuck in the middle of the road again.
Yeah.
But, I'd prefer be in the middle of the road because then the next year it's more likely that we can slowly start going up and up. Whereas, how many bottom 4 teams do you see jump into the top 8 the next year? It doesn't happen
Just
very
Hawthorn,
often.
really.
So,
Not
yeah.
top 4, but top 8.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. The game is at 12:35 on Sunday, which is not far away. And you're going to be there.
Yeah.
On the hill or in the cheer squad?
In the cheer squad, or sitting behind the cheer squad. Last time we went to Adelaide, that was probably the worst night of my life.
I got so sick after that game.
Which, shows
No
I probably had a good life. That was the worst night of my life. But it just torrentially rained for pretty much the entire second half. It was the worst game of football ever. Just take us outside the fact that the Saints lost. It was the worst game of football ever. And scores were pretty much level at 3/4 time. And then we got, absolutely thumped. They kicked about 5 goals straight in the last quarter while we were sitting in the rain.
Filippo kicked his nice goal in front of us, though.
That was true. That was clean.
That was nice.
But outside of that, that was a terrible. So I'm hoping for redemption this year. It's tough starting the year on the road, especially when
we did it last year too. We played Geelong round 1.
It's true.
The Cattery.
Yeah, we came close to winning that game actually.
So we won't go into a deep dive preview because I'll do that during the week.
Yeah.
When more injury news comes out. But what is your gut feel, please? What is, for the Sainers out there that want the truth? They want to hear what your gut is telling you.
Okay.
What is it telling you?
I'll say this. It's people, I can already see after the game, win, lose or draw, people will be concerned about the play style because it's going to be a low scoring game.
Yeah.
I'd say both teams at least below 70, potentially both teams below 60.
With Adelaide's firepower? If it's a good, I don't know what the weather's like.
I think our backline is stingy. And people forget this. People are saying, our backline is a huge concern. Obviously, the injuries are no battle and obviously Howard's out. But in 2023 and 2024 combined, St Kilda are the number 1 ranked defensive team in the competition under Ross Lyon. Don't forget that. That is not just going to slip away in an instant.
We might slip from 1 to 4 or 5,
exactly.
but we won't slip from 1 to 12, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
So I think our backline is going to remain extremely stingy. It's going to be hard for them to score. But in saying that, it's already hard for us to score with the full strength forward line, let alone a semi-constructed forward line. So my gut's telling me that. I can't pick a result because it's just too hard to tell. In round 1, we don't really know what Adelaide's going to dish up this year.
Yeah, we never know.
I would like to think that we will be competitive at least.
So, for the Saints fans listening, what we need you to do is not think about anything on game day. Put the telly on if you're not going.
Yeah.
Have brunch or brekkie early, and just ride the wave. Is that what you're saying? Don't even think
Pretty
about
much.
result. Just ride the wave.
Yeah. But because...
Well, we all want to win. I want us to win, and I fully expect
absolutely.
we're going to be a big chance of winning this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Irrespective of the injuries.
Definitely think we're a big chance to win. But I think it's one of those things. Let's just save all this discussion about the pracky games and whatever.
That final siren.
Exactly right.
Until I go live, and then jump on the Saints TV live post game,
and then go,
and then we can let loose, good or bad.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. It's really hard. These round 1 games are just so hard to call. Like, if you had to ask me, I know I've already referenced this, but in 2023 against Freo, I was predicting we would get absolutely demolished.
And we won.
Day.
Some people were saying the same last year. We didn't win the game against the Cats, but we came very, very close.
We were right in that game.
Until they gave Danger that silly little trip or whatever it was.
Yeah.
This is a little tangent, but I've been watching Severance, the show. Have you seen it?
No, but I know it's got Adam Scott in it.
Yeah. Pretty much you get a chip and you go to work and it triggers and then you don't remember your personal life. And then in your personal life, you don't know what you're doing work. So it basically creates 2 consciousness splits in your brain.
I was excited to see where this is going.
I'm just saying, imagine as a football fan, you went to the football and it triggered and then you're a mad Sainer, but then when you leave Marvel, you have no idea what happened inside the stadium. So during the week, you're not pondering these things. You're stress-free. I mean, that would ruin me because Saints TV lives off the week to week. But Do you know what I mean?
I think Saints
imagine
fans
that.
would potentially be quite beneficial
Imagine
from that.
You left and then you're back into work or you're back into your personal life. You don't even watch reruns of 2009 because you didn't know it existed.
It's true. You
didn't think the tangent was going to go there. It connects pretty well, though.
I don't mind it. So
would you get that surgery?
No, because
you want the week to week?
Because I love hosting this podcast and talking Saints footy every week. But I think some days I definitely wouldn't mind having a chip to forget about the dire reality of being a Saints fan sometimes. I'm not one of those pessimists. I love the club and I think we're heading in the right direction.
You're a renowned optimist on this show.
I think maybe just compared to
I mean, I'm kind of like...
No, I think you're...
I'm pretty balanced. Sammy, I think he's got very high... Like, he's not here. Obviously, we haven't even mentioned, but he's at Pitch Festival. He's having a good time there. So hopefully he'll be back next week, which would be good. But I feel like I'll speak for him. He'll have pretty high standards. He'll expect a very good performance.
Well... I think...
Regardless of who runs out.
Could be wrong. He can speak for himself, but I think he will probably expect a bad performance. I feel like
you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't speak for him. I don't know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what he would say. He'd be like, oh, I expect we're going to be... Like, we'd be like, Sammy, where will we finish this year? And he'd go, bottom 4. And like...
Yeah, maybe. But let's hold that. Yeah. We'll see what he'll be back next week, so that'll be awesome. The three of us. I think on that note, we're probably good for the first ep. We've covered quite a bit. Yeah. And this is something that pops up.
I think there's maybe a few players on the fringe people might want to, like Ryan Burns, Ari Showmaker, Hunter Clark, Zach Jones.
Well, I don't expect maybe 2 or 3 of them to play on the wing. I reckon one of them will play.
Yeah.
It could be Hasty. It could be Clark. Yeah. I don't think it'll be Jones.
No, I don't think so.
And I don't think Ari's going to get a look in.
Yeah, Ari is someone I've advocated for on the pod. I think he's got so much potential. That kick is just lethal.
Yeah.
Defensively, needs to improve. I think everyone knows that. But, yeah, and I just think right now, whether it's because of that defensive work, he's just out of favour with the coaches. He didn't get to play. He was fully healthy, didn't play in either of the prackies. So,
yeah.
I know a lot of people, I can already tell you right now what's going to happen. He's not going to get picked, and people are going to be in the comments saying, why is, Cordy playing and Ari's not? And I mean, I kind of agree with that, but I just think there's something in his game. I think it's his defensive work he needs to work on, and then the coaches will start to trust him.
Cordy is the exact opposite to Ari, where he doesn't bite off more than he can chew. He's accountable. He won't run off his man. He's going to be a glove to whoever he defends.
Yeah. And
he'll have 2 touches, but as long as his forward kicks only 1 or 2 goals, he's done his job.
Yeah.
That's literally why we've got him in the team right now.
Yeah. And I can't believe we haven't mentioned either of these blokes, but Max Hall and Liam O'Connell.
Yeah, they both performed very well in the prackies in different stages. I think Max Hall's more likely to get a gig this weekend than Liam O'Connell.
Agreed.
Liam O'Connell didn't back it up against Port.
I think Max Hall, if Mitch doesn't play, he's straight in to take that spot. O'Connell, I think it's unlikely. Yeah. I think he could be picked as an emergency. But just to give him his kudos here, he has been exceptional this offseason. He's one of those Category B rookies, which honestly you expect nothing from, at least I do. He's come out and his contest is just ferocious. Like, he is a contested bull. Clearly, he has some kinks in his game that he needs to figure out. He's from Ireland and didn't grow up playing the game, but
yeah.
To me, he's like a DMAC replacement, but almost even more. Like, he could play on a wing if like a Wood or a Hill goes out.
He's that sort of plugs gaps in the team when you need him.
He's DMAC, and then add just like a huge contested element to that game as well. Yeah. So, I think he will play at some point this year. But kudos to him, he's been fantastic this offseason. I think he didn't quite back up his Carlton performance in the Port game, but I thought he still was serviceable. Did some really nice things. But yeah, and then Hasty, Travaglia, Burns, I all think will just get in. Hall, O'Connell probably fall out again, depending on these injuries. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough team to pick. I'm interested to see if my lineup is accurate at all.
Thursday night we'll be live for the teams.
Yeah,
at around 6:37. So tune in, Saners, for that. And we'll. Yeah, I'm either way, like, as pessimistic as we might sound sometimes, I'm so excited that football's back. Like, actual, proper games are back, not just 2 games. It's the real stuff. And Sunday at 12:30, it's not a bad time, really, because I hate waiting all day for the game. If the game was 4:30 or something, I'd be so nervous and just waiting, like, hurry up. But 12:30, you get up, you go for a run, you get some brekkie, and then the game's on straight away, like, right after that. So, I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll put a pick up on the IG
Yeah. If we get up, mate, you better go nuts.
Oh yeah, no, it's my flight home's not until like 10 o'clock, so maybe I'll get down to Hindley Street or something. I'm kidding. I'll never go there ever again. No offense to anyone that lives in Adelaide, but no, I can't wait. Again, I agree. We've talked about the potential direness of this season. We both don't think it's going to be that bad, but yeah, it's great to have footy back and
now we can assess. There's
nothing's happened yet. We haven't played a game, so everyone's going in already
it's
upset.
Feeling, it's mood, it's articles, it's who influences your thinking most. Whereas I just want to be influenced by what I see on the bloody field. Exactly so when they get out there and they do their business, mate, that's where we can really dissect. Okay, this is exactly where we're at. This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Or I'm just hoping I come in on Monday night next week and I go, geez, we didn't expect that, boys. That was unbelievable. I've already prepped a little script for that.
Yeah. Do you have just last thing before you
in
wrap
the mirror?
up?
I'm like, wow, like just rehearsing.
Do you have one like big ambitious call of like something that'll happen in the game?
At some point in the game, I think we'll lead it by 22 points.
Okay, very specific.
Can we hold on? We'll see. Tune in next week, Saners.
Oh man, this isn't a big call. Just last talking point. When the siren goes and the first bounce is delivered, Saners, I'm talking to the players. There is the first quarter of football counts to the scoreboard. We cannot start the game slow again. Seriously.
Yes.
Every first quarter, it feels like forever. I'm sure there's been some good ones in there, but first quarter in the Prac against Port, 1-39. I mean, we just cannot start games this way. We did it last year as well, and we're always chasing tail. I'll say this, if we are winning at quarter time, we will win the game, guaranteed. I guarantee you, if we're winning at quarter time, we'll win the game.
That's huge. Yeah. He's looked down the barrel of the camera too, and he's just said that. Because I'm actually pumped up.
Because after the second quarter, the next three quarters of the game, we always play super well. Yeah, you know, and the reason for this, I think, it's a young list. They need to be coached, and after quarter time, Ross is able to implement what he needs.
And if there's momentum, there's nothing like a young team with momentum. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, exactly. So, win the first quarter. Yeah. Please win the first quarter and we'll win the game.
You don't want to be 12 minutes in and it's 1-0 Adelaide's way and you're like, God.
Yeah. All right. If we start poorly, we'll lose.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll come back, but we'll still lose.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Let's get it done, Saners. That's a wrap, I think. We'll be back next week. Normal slot, Monday nights, Tuesday night drop. Yeah. Let's get the job done, eh?
See you guys next week. Go the Saners.
Go the Saners.